Philip Hammond, the Chancellor, in what we now refer to as the Spring Economic Statement. So not the budget is for November, that's been moved through to November going forward. I suppose he started by saying he wanted to lift the cloud of uncertainty. We've had all the bad news last night in the Brexit vote and the uncertainty that creates. And he was, I suppose, quite proud and quite upbeat about what he's created. He bragged about the economy and he's saying, well, we've got a really robust economy. This is the 9th consecutive year of growth in the economy, and that's with the backdrop of the kind of world economy going backwards. And I think the predictions are, again, the next 5 years still seeing some growth in our economy. So pretty good overall for the UK. On the back of that also, we've got the fastest wage growth for a decade. Now he's really proud of that. This is real growth in wages, above inflation. I think predicting about 3% current wage growth. And that's a very important statistic as far as he's concerned. And people are hopefully feeling that in the pocket at last. They're seeing some real wage growth out there. Improving public finances as well, and I think that's important. We're seeing the OBR predicting economic growth. Yet they have downgraded those from last year, even from the autumn. We're predicting, I think, 1.2% this year, and then 1.4% next year, and then 1.6% for the 3 years after that. But it's still growth, and that's still positive. Also 600,000 new jobs by 2023. Now that was, again, if you remember what he said going back in the autumn, I think he talked about 800,000 jobs, but it's still jobs and it's still good news. And some of the criticism about the new jobs that have been created, there's about a lot of part-time, a lot of 0 hours contracts, but the statistics he quoted were, I think 96% of the jobs created last year were full-time jobs, and that's a very important stat out there. Borrowing as a percentage of GDP is at 1.1% currently, so again, pretty much under control, and he wants to further reduce that to get down to something like 0.5% of GDP by 2023-24. That will be a borrowing of about £13.5 billion at that stage. So a far cry from where we were out there. He used the expression about a balanced approach, and I think what he means by that is still making significant investment in the UK, tax cuts that we've seen, and very low tax regime, and debt very much under control, which has been supported by what the OBR was saying out there. He also tried to kind of answer his critics. What does he mean by the end of austerity? And he talks about lots of things, but he's harping back to real wage growth out there, debt under control, significant capital investment still going on, low inflation, low taxes and high productivity. Put all that together, that's what the Chancellor views as the end of austerity. Now, with all the kind of uncertainty that Brexit's out there, it would be wrong for him to say nothing about that, but he did make reference to the fact that he does have plans in place to cater for that no-deal Brexit. Now, we don't know what they are precisely, but clearly, if that was where we land up in a couple of weeks' time, there are some real plans in place. He talked about, I suppose, 3 other kind of main things. I suppose the digital economy is one very important part of it, housing is another part, and environmental. So what did he say about those 3 things? So starting on the digital economy, he sees that, as we all do, there's lots of opportunities that the new digital world creates, but equally it offers lots of challenges as well. I think he made it clear that the big global players out there, there's been a lot of criticism about avoidance of tax by those players, further steps taken to ensure they're paying the correct amount of tax on their UK-born profits. He still wants to be at the forefront of innovation and R&D. He wants to see UK being very much on the map. And he announced one particular thing. It was a large computer installation, £79 million investment into what's referred to as the Archer 2 project. And that's a big computer going into Edinburgh University. So still showing that we want to be at the forefront of innovation and R&D. He reminded us of other expenditure plans out there, things like £34 billion, which additional spending going to the NHS, much of that in the technology side and furthering our skills that the NHS offers, but that's by the end of this parliamentary term. He also talked about bringing forward the apprenticeship rate changes, because I don't think he's seen probably enough take-up of that, and so what the announcements that they made, which are going to apply for next year, actually bring forward some of that. So, turning to the next point, which is housing. Very proud to say he had 220,000 new homes built last year. Now that's a pretty impressive stat. But again, they want to go further. They've got the 5-year programme out there, which is about a £45 billion housing programme, which the aim of that is to deliver 300,000 new houses every year for the next 5 years. Now that in itself creates some problems, but it's a great opportunity for lots of our clients and suppliers into the property chain. It's a massive boost. Now, how's he done that? He's done Help to Buy, he's done planning reforms, SDLT changes to hopefully for most first-time buyers, they're not paying SDLT on buying the properties. But he's also announced a couple of new measures. There's about £3 billion going into the Affordable Home Scheme and £1 billion going into the Enabling Building Programme. So I think, again, the overall message is housing is pretty central to that part of the economy. Now, linked to that, you build all those new houses have more people. The environmental issues we've heard a lot about recently, whether that's control of plastics and all those types of things. But he wants to also make sure we've got that under control. And linked very much to the housing side, he's made the announcement that by 2025, the abolition of fossil fuel built boilers going into new homes and new builds. And that's something that the industry needs to wake up to and respond to very quickly. At the same time, he wants to increase the percentage of the green gases being fed into the grid over the next few years, rather than the reliance on gas and coal-fired power stations at present. And he also wants to help smaller businesses with their sort of carbon emissions, their carbon footprint. So again, we need to see what the precise details are out there, but it's something which is important to this government. So I think taking it around with all the kind of the uncertainty that we sit here following the vote on Brexit last night, here's a pretty bullish Chancellor, and it's interesting to see what the opposition say in response to that. But I think it comes back to his definition of the end of austerity. And if just to refresh what he meant by that, he meant real wage growth out there, record low unemployment, continuing to make investments into the UK, low inflation, low taxes, high productivity. Put all that together, it's a pretty good combination. And overall, I'm very positive from what I've heard from the Chancellor this afternoon.